Good morning or almost afternoon. It's 10:50. I'm a little bit later than usual. Good morning, everybody. Hello, everyone who is watching live on TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, pretty much everywhere. I don't think we're on Pinterest. That's the only one. But otherwise, I'm on every single channel pretty much at the same time live. So welcome again. This is a daily AI news and update. If you are new to this format, basically what I'm going to do is walk through the biggest news articles of the day, go through what I think. So these are going to be first reactions. These are not necessarily going to be the right answer, but basically what I think about the news of the day. We'll have a discussion as well. Questions can be sent through on whatever channel you're on. Most of the questions come through TikTok, so I'll be answering most of them there. And yeah, I'll be online for about 1 hour or so. The clips and the clean footage of all of this will go to YouTube afterwards. So if you want to watch this, but you can't stay for the whole live, or you want to be able to skip to a section that is important to you, something that's interesting to you, then YouTube's going to be the best place to do it. Everything will be processed and put on YouTube tomorrow, so on Friday. So what's the news today? Hello, everybody on TikTok. What the Grok happened yesterday, says Robert Cressy. Robert, you're preempting me here. Grok is the big news. So at about 8 p.m. Pacific time, xAI, Elon Musk's artificial intelligence company, they had a launch event for Grok, Grok 4 specifically. We've had Grok 3 for, gosh, was it January or February? For a few months now. And Grok is the artificial intelligence that is built into Twitter, or X, we should probably call it X at this point, and is funded by and built by Elon Musk. And he's spent a lot of money building data centers to basically play catch up with OpenAI, with Google, with Anthropic. So a huge amount of cash has been pumped into this catch up. And I mean, this is a tricky one because nobody has no opinion about Musk. And so whatever I say, I'm going to annoy somebody. I know this going in. So here we go. Basically, it looks like the model itself is pretty good. It is scoring very well on all the benchmarks. Now, benchmarks are not everything, and increasingly benchmarks are becoming really difficult because all of the models are getting very good, extremely good. So finding increasingly more complex benchmarks to actually test in a comparable way is becoming difficult. If we look at something like Artificial Analysis, which is a website that shows you basically a rundown of all the different models and how they stack up against each other in terms of intelligence, I'm putting that in scare quotes, speed, price, context window, etc., etc. It stacks them all up against each other. They have just put Grok as the most intelligent model. So Grok has an intelligence analysis in artificial analysis intelligence index, wow, that rolls off the tongue, of 73, which is higher than the previous one, which was Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is 70, and then O4 Mini High 70, DeepSeek R1 68, etc., going down from there. So this is an independent analysis. They run their own benchmarks, and they are saying this is a good model. This is a very smart model. It's relatively expensive to use right now on the API, but it's a very good model. We always see them expensive when they come out, and then those prices will drop. There's also people like Ethan Mollick, who is one of the experts over on Twitter. He's saying that it's impressive. It's a good model, and he's run his own kind of benchmarks. He likes to do limericks and sonnets, etc. So using verbal tests to check the difference between these models. But he's saying it's an impressive model based on a few minutes of playing, but disappointing to see no mention at all of a model card. Red teaming, yesterday's incident, which we talked about yesterday, and I'll refer back to, or how they're going to address the process issues they keep having. So earlier on in the week, Grok 3, the previous model before Grok 4, started to spout anti-Semitic and racist comments. Basically, it called itself Mecha Hitler at one point and really just went off the rails. xAI haven't really said very much about this. They've said publicly that they've adjusted some of their system prompts, but that's kind of it. There's no kind of apology, no, oh, this is how we're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. There's no model card for this new Grok 4. So it seems to be kind of swept under the rug, and then they're hoping that the launch of Grok 4 will get everyone's attention so we won't pay attention to the Mecha Hitler at the beginning of the week. It's a big red flag, and I think the problem is here, and Ethan points this out. Where is it? I saw this was really good. Hard to imagine a lot of excitement inside companies for using the API at this stage, given the lack of transparency. I'm surprised they didn't take advantage of the eyeballs to offer some kind of post-mortem on yesterday, because they actually pulled down Grok 3. They took it offline because it was such a problem. Then released Grok 4, like, hey, don't pay any attention to what happened earlier in the week. We've got a new model, surprise. But I think Ethan's right here. No business is going to use Grok as their base model. Why would you use a model like Grok, where there's a lack of transparency, there's a potential for turning into Mecha Hitler? Why would you use a model like that if you could use ChatGPT, which is reliable and has continued to work and hasn't had any problems like this? If you are running a business, you'd have to have a really strong argument for why would you use Grok over OpenAI, over Anthropic, over a Gemini model from Google. So I think from a business point of view, that stuff is disastrous for Grok. And even though it is currently the best model, it is scoring highest on the benchmarks. It's done really well in Humanity's last exam, and artificial analysis and other third-party people are saying this is a great model. Even though it is currently the best model, a lot of people will not use it. A lot of serious businesses will not use it because of the connotations, the lack of transparency, and the feeling that it's a bit of a wild card. You want to go with something reliable. It's like that saying, nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. People back in the 70s, 80s, they would not buy interesting new computers from Compaq or Dell or Apple, for example, because IBM was considered the safe option. So if you worked in a corporate environment and you bought computers, you were a procurement officer for your industry, you would always buy IBM because you would not lose your job for that. Sure, it may not be the best thing on the market. Sure, it's not the most powerful. Doesn't matter. It was safe. And that's what enterprises need. So they are not going to use Grok for this reason, which means a huge revenue source for artificial intelligence models is the API, is business use, basically. That's been taken off the table because there's no reason to use Grok instead of OpenAI, even if it's smarter. So the other thing they have launched, which is eye-watering, is a $300 monthly subscription. So this is for users, consumers, people who want to pay for usage rather than via the API. We've seen high cost subscriptions before. We've got the $200 a month with ChatGPT. We've got the $200 a month max with Claude, and we have a Gemini $200 a month. The $200 a month has so far been the kind of the standard. You either have free, you have $20 a month, and you have $200 a month. That's been the model so far. But XAI have said, no, we're not going to do that. It's $300. We'll see how it goes. Maybe people will pay this. This is for Super Grok Heavy. Quite a name, isn't it? You couldn't just go with Pro or Premium. Super Grok Heavy. So it is, yep, $300 a month. I'm not quite sure what you get with it. I assume just higher limitations. I used it on my Grok app. You can try out Super Grok, or you can try out the heavy mode. I didn't notice anything that much different. That said, as the models get smarter and smarter and smarter, we actually run into a problem where it's very hard for us, normal people, to test if the model is better, because a lot of us do not have PhD level problems. We have problems that, hey, can you help me write this email better? Or can you give me some feedback on my newsletter? All of the models are really good at that. So increasingly, that testing is being done at the top range. For problems that are not problems most of us have. So this does bring up questions of who is this for $300 a month? The same question was already being asked with the $200 a month ChatGPT. So I use AI every single day. This is my job. I teach people how to use it. I have used the $200 a month subscriptions to kind of kick the tire, find out why they're useful, and to be able to recommend them to people. I have cancelled most of those subscriptions because there is no need for them compared to the $20 a month. And I've seen this with a lot of creators in AI space as well. Even these people who live and breathe AI do not necessarily need the $200 a month. So I doubt we need a $300 a month XAI Grok subscription. I might be wrong. Maybe there's some super users who need this. I don't see the need for it. So I'm going to hop over to some questions. I'm still playing around with Grok. From my personal, entirely subjective view, it seems fine. It seems perfectly good. The problem with that is there's no reason to pull me away from ChatGPT, which already has history about me. So there's a moat there. It has a lot of knowledge, so it can give me better answers. And Claude, where I have most of my projects. So it's not enough to just be as good or slightly better than the previous model. You need to be so good that you're going to pull people away from ChatGPT, pull people away from Claude. I'm not sure it's going to happen. Now, there will be people in my comments, especially on Twitter, who will be telling me why Grok is the best. Fantastic. If you like Grok, fantastic, great for you. I think for most people out there, this news is not that important. Davey's asking, what was that site again? The one that compares the model. It is called artificialanalysis.ai. And it's a great site. So they basically, it's a bit like Chatbot Arena, where they will pit models against each other. So that they have an arena, and then they have their own third-party independent testing. And it's really good if you're building in particular, because it's not just what's the most intelligent. It gives you information on what's the most intelligent for the price. So it has things like how many dollars per million tokens. So Opus, there we go. Claude Opus 4 thinking is $30 for a million tokens. The new Grok 4 is $6 for a million tokens, for example. So you can get all of that information on artificialanalysis.ai. It's a very pretty website as well. Just go through the questions. So I need to scroll. Hey, Layla. Joined. So there's a lot to scroll here. Excuse me. Oops. Blench Photography asks, we would like to start using agentic AI to improve our customer experience. What service is best? Okay, agentic AI and agents, they're slightly different, but I won't get into the detail now. It's a bit of a marketing buzzword. So I would say first start with what problem do you want to solve? You may be able to solve the problem with a normal AI without it being agentic. You may be able to solve that problem without AI using normal traditional automations. So I'd always say start with the customer problem that you need to solve and then work out the solution that's best based on that problem. Agentic and agent systems are kind of the new sexy thing. So I understand the appeal to want to rush straight to agents, but sometimes it's not the best thing because it adds layers of complexity. And as soon as you add complexity, you have a greater latitude for it to go horribly, horribly wrong because we're giving more power to the systems, basically. That said, probably the easiest platform to start building on would be N8N. It allows you to build agentic systems, but it also allows you to build automations in the same way that Zapier and Make.com does. So you might be able to solve your problem using an AI automation. If you can, fantastic. If not, it allows additional expansion into more agentic systems as well, in a way that Zapier and Make.com, they're not really built for that, whereas N8N has done better. So it's N, the letter, 8, the number, N. Terrible name. It's a good product though, but I would have a look at that as a good starting point. You can build your own custom system, but I would say build a kind of a skeleton, a minimum viability product version of it using N8N. See if that's valuable. If it is, then yes, you can hire developers and you can have it built in a more robust way. But for most cases, N8N will be good enough. Stefan, do you think Grok 4s reach AGI level? Elon said it's better than all PhD students in all fields. Okay, so this is something that we have discussed multiple times. It depends on how we define AGI. We don't even have a good definition of AI. So, and we do not even have a good definition of human intelligence. So it gets really tricky to define when AGI or artificial general intelligence has been hit. I think that it's the kind of question that we won't know the answer to until several years afterwards, and then we'll realize that, oh yeah, actually on Thursday, the 10th of July, 2025, that's when we hit AGI, and we'll be able to pinpoint it after the fact. Whilst we're living in it, I think there's going to be too much debate about what AGI is, what AI is, and again, what intelligence is. So it's very hard to answer that question. I also would have to check. So Elon is going to say a lot of things. He's saying it's better than all PhD students in all fields. If it is, then that is very strong evidence that we are approaching AGI. There are the questions, though, of are these the important questions for an AGI to be focusing on? PhD questions, like academic questions? Probably, yes. But there are different types of intelligence rather than just pure academic intelligence. That tends to be where we focus because, you know, it's computer scientists and, let's be honest, geeks making this stuff. So we're going to the upper echelons, but that means we're lacking other elements of human intelligence that could also be important. Things like empathy, for example, which very little of focus in artificial intelligence moves into. So my personal definition of AGI would be something that encompasses all of those elements of human intelligence rather than just pure intellect. But again, this is very debatable because AGI does not have a solid agreed upon definition. So I don't think so, but I could be very, very wrong. Masuma is saying, I'm interested in learning AI. What do you suggest as an absolute beginner? So it depends what your interest is. If it's in learning how to build artificial intelligences or how to build systems using AI, that's slightly different from just learning to use AI in the day-to-day. We'll start there. So if you want to learn AI in the day-to-day, just start to use ChatGPT or Claude, or if you want Grok, start to use it more in your everyday life. So that starts with kind of very basic usages, which is, in reality, it's replacing Google with ChatGPT. That's kind of the very base level. That's where a lot of people will focus their AI. And that's fine. That's a good starting point. But beyond that, it's working out, oh, actually, we can do a lot more with artificial intelligence than we can with Google. So it's not just about information retrieval. It's about how we interact with that information. So, for example, being able to have an AI tutor you on a subject. So previously with Google, I could look up a lot of information on how to learn Spanish. Fantastic. It's great for information retrieval. Now with an AI, I can talk with it. I can communicate. I can have a conversation basically saying, hey, this is my level of Spanish. This is what I want to get to. Can you help me work out a curriculum? Okay, today I want to focus on this particular grammatical tense. Can you give me some advice? And work back and forward with the AI. So that's kind of the next level up. That comes from just using AI on a daily basis and always experimenting. I think because our modern AIs like ChatGPT are relatively new, everyone's still working out what we can do with them. So just play with them on a daily basis and you will find new ways to use it. If you want to then move to the next level, that would be starting to get into development using AI. So you can look at things like vibe coding, which will allow you to build software and then plug AI into it. So you can build AI applications. It sounds terrifying. It really isn't because of AI. It gets a bit meta, but we use AI to build AI applications, which makes the whole thing very accessible. So you can look at platforms like Lovable, Bolt, and Cursor if you want to go a bit more technical, and they allow you to build software. And those pieces of software you can connect into ChatGPT using something called an API. Basically, it's a way for them to talk to each other. So your application talks to ChatGPT instead of you talking to ChatGPT, which is kind of the next level up. And then a level above that would be getting into actually deploying your own large language models. So you can deploy them on a local computer or on a server. And then the level above that is building your own artificial intelligence models. that starts to get harder because you need big resources to do this. You can do it for fun, as a hobby project, but if you want to actually train your own AI, now the training costs are pushing into the hundreds of millions. So it's becoming difficult, let's put it that way, to do it as an amateur, but you can do it for fun. So it kind of depends where you want to land on that scale. In terms of resources, check out deeplearning.ai. It has loads of courses on it. You can audit the courses for free. It's not my website, but it's a very good one. I also have, I will plug myself slightly, I have a newsletter which talks about specifically how to use artificial intelligence in business. So to start and grow businesses, you can use the link wherever you're watching this. You'll be able to find a link which will take you there, and that will allow you to get the newsletter. That's totally free. And every single week I put out a playbook, which is a detailed kind of blow by blow of how you use AI in a certain way, like for competitor research, for example, or coming up with business ideas. It will go through that and show you how to use AI. So that's free. You can find that as well. But apart from that, just use AI on a daily basis and you will start to find where it fits into your own life. So that's not a very definitive route, but I think that is ultimately how we learn to use it, is through daily usage. Robert Cressy, can companies be held accountable for AI output, or their directors be jailed? Gosh, it probably depends on the jurisdiction. I don't know, I'm just trying to think. We haven't had any cases like that. I imagine it's more likely we'll have cases like that in the EU in particular, whereas America is going a lot more laissez-faire with their AI regulation. At the beginning of the week, they actually there was a call to disallow any AI regulation being passed for the next 10 years. They wanted to pass an act. There's an addendum to Trump's big, beautiful bill, which was with no state level regulation of AI for the next 10 years. That got thrown out, thankfully. But the fact that it was even put forward kind of suggests how laissez-faire they are over there and how they don't want any regulation to get in the way of progress. In the EU, it's a lot more strict. And then the UK kind of falls somewhere in between, which is what we normally do. So yeah, I think if it can be proved that an AI has caused harm, then the people who've created the AI will be held legally responsible. There was that case, unfortunately, of the 14-year-old who was using character AI, and he ended up taking his own life. And there are there's some evidence that points towards character AI. The company and the service may have facilitated that. Of course, he was obviously, well, not obviously, I don't know the full facts, but he was probably very depressed. He also had access to a handgun. So these are mitigating factors, I'd say. But I imagine we will see this happen in the future. What can't happen yet is an AI cannot be held legally responsible. So this is one of the reasons why some certain professions like lawyers are actually safer from AI, because we need currently humans to be legally responsible for certain professions, which means we can't use AI in certain cases, because when I hire a lawyer, for example, one of the reasons I'm hiring the lawyer is to pass the legal responsibility to them. So if I get sued, I'm going to come back on my legal company because they have, given me the contracts, given me the go ahead. If an AI has prepared a contract for me and I get sued, I cannot sue the AI for misleading me because it is not legally a person. It doesn't have personhood and it cannot be sued. So this is a big question that's going to be worked out. Could I sue the AI company for producing an AI which didn't give me good legal advice? Obviously, they're going to have disclaimers against that, etc., etc. But I think with all things in AI, all things to do with law, the law is moving slower than artificial intelligence itself is. So it's going to take a little while for everything to catch up. Is n8n free? I think they have a free plan. You can also self-host it, which is really cool. You can self-host it on your servers, and that might be free. I pay for it. I'm not sure. It's for what it is, it's not expensive because as soon as you deploy it in a business, you will be saving a lot of time and money. So paying a subscription of $20, $30 a month is very low comparative to that. But I think there's a free version to get started with. Cool. So the other big news, which was kind of overshadowed by Grok, I suppose, was yesterday. NVIDIA just became the first ever company to reach $4 trillion in market value. So this is its, oh gosh, I've forgotten the name of the word. Market capitalization. Gosh, so the number of outstanding shares it has publicly listed times the share price, the market capitalization. So there are different ways to value a company. This is just one of them. This is arguably one of the crudest ones, but still, NVIDIA has become the first company to touch $4 trillion market value on Wednesday. If you've been following it, or if you have any money invested in NVIDIA, good job. I have some, not enough. I wish I had more because it's gone up about 50% since I put some in. This is not financial advice. So shares rose 2.4% to 164, benefit from the ongoing surge in demand for artificial intelligence technologies. So basically, what's happening here is NVIDIA are the main company who are providing the chipsets for training artificial intelligence. So when someone like Elon Musk sets up a huge data center, it is absolutely stuffed to the brim with these chipsets. And because of that, there's a huge demand for them right now, and the cost of them has skyrocketed. And NVIDIA are pretty much the only game in town. There's a few other chip makers, but NVIDIA are the name who make GPUs, graphical processing units, which are the chips. You can see this is Jensen Huang holding one, that power the training of AI models. And it's kind of a quirk in a weird way, because NVIDIA, any of you who are PC gamers or have done, played PCs or built a PC, NVIDIA used to basically be a graphics card maker for if you wanted to play video games, or maybe video editing, but mainly for video games. If you wanted to run 3D high quality looking video games, you would buy a graphics card, a GPU. That was 20 years ago. The thing about graphics and rendering video on screen and rendering 3D worlds is that for it to work, for the effect to work for the human eyeball, it all needs to be rendered at the same time on the screen. So every single pixel is being rendered on the screen, and we're able to see it, and it looks like a 3D world for us. And that's rendering, 30 times or 60 times every single second, or more than that. Actually, the refresh rate's much higher. But what it's doing is it's processing all of those pixels in parallel. And this is the important part, because when we train an AI model, it's using parallel processing. It's about being able to look at all of the, I don't want to get too technical, but all of the tokens within our data set, training data at the same time, and then kind of compare them all and the differences between them in parallel on a massive scale. So it just happened to be that the technology that we use for processing video game graphics is also really useful for running large language models and for training large language models. And because of this, NVIDIA, who used to make stuff for gamers, have suddenly become, well, the largest company on earth by market capitalization. So good job to Jensen Huang and the team at NVIDIA. It's a weird historical kind of coincidence that they happen to be in that market, and they're doing really well in that market. And then, well, first crypto and then large language models came along and has rocketed NVIDIA to being one of the most important companies on earth. And yeah, they are pretty much the only one doing it. And this is why it's become a large part of the tariff war as well, because it's a US based company. And so US export controls forbid NVIDIA from selling the most advanced chips to China. So it's a large company in the world, it's political, and it is fueling the AI revolution, basically. So again, not investment advice, but it's a fascinating company for that reason. Kay asks, Claude Code versus Gemini CLI, I've never said it out loud, CLI, versus GitHub Copilot for development. So these are different systems. for those of you who aren't familiar with these names, different systems for writing code. Out of these ones, I personally prefer Claude Code. I think, though, with all AI, so this is whether you're writing code or whether you are just playing around with AI, using it in daily life, try everything and see what works for you. And the best way to try these things is to run a very basic project through them, something that's not going to take you much time, but you'll instantly be able to see whether or not it gives you the right results. And different tools are going to be better at different jobs as well. For me, out of these three, it would be Claude Code. I haven't used GitHub Copilot for a while because it wasn't very good, and I kept trying and it still wasn't very good. Maybe it's got better. So I can't speak to that. And Gemini, I liked, but not enough to move me away from Claude Code. So as with everything, just try it out, see what works for you, see what's good for your particular flow, and go from there. But yes, it is chaos right now. It's chaos all the time, unfortunately, with AI. So it's basically my job to keep up with this stuff. And I do not know how anyone who does not do it professionally keeps up with it. It is impossible. And the AI companies do not make it easier by, giving their models good names. They don't do anything like that. And they make it as hard as possible, sadly. My ChatGPT last week kept going in a loop and going back to part 22 of something when it was in 28, like it has amnesia. Check how long the chat is. So sometimes when you have a long chat, what has happened at the beginning of the chat will be forgotten. So there's something in large language models called a context window. Is basically the easiest way to think of it is memory. It's how much information can the large language model work with at any one time. So that includes what you're giving it, your input. It includes any system prompts that it has, any history that it has, plus it includes the chat that is ongoing. So as that chat gets longer and longer and longer, let's say you've got this context window and it starts to fill up. What happens is it will start to forget stuff from the beginning of that chat. Now, some AIs will say, hey, I've run out of space, you need to start a new chat. Some will not, they'll just continue, which is very unhelpful because they do not say, hey, I've run out, I've forgotten what's happened at the beginning. They will just instead try to fill in the gap. They will start to hallucinate in what they think should make sense. So if you find it's forgetting, or you find it's going over details that you've already covered, it may be because the context window has been filled up and it's forgotten what's happened earlier. So the easiest fix is to start a new chat. Sometimes that's annoying if you are doing a continuous project. So a couple of things you can do. You can, one, ask for a summary of everything that we've covered so far, and then take that summary to the new chat. That kind of works. Or you can do it all within a project. So both Claude and ChatGPT have projects. Now you do it within a project and you save information from inside the chat into the project knowledge. So again, you'd say, hey, can you summarize everything we've been covering? And it would create an artifact and you save that. It's basically a document that's saved into the project knowledge, and then it is accessible by all of the future chats. So that's the way to do it. It sounds like you're doing something that has many parts, part 22 out of 28. I would do that inside a project so you can keep it all together, and that will allow ChatGPT to refer back to previous parts without running out of context window. You can also use a larger context window model. So if we look on artificial analysis, for example, where is it? I'm struggling to find it, but there is a list of context window lengths. Generally, the Gemini models from Google have the highest context windows, in the millions, whereas ChatGPT tends to be a couple of 100,000. So if you have a project where you need to put a huge amount of information in, then Gemini tends to be a good contender here. Yeah, it's like me at the end of the day when I forget what's happened in the morning. Yes, ChatGPT is very similar. It forgets less than us, I'm sure. It forgets less than me, definitely. Okay, Kay is saying Copilot agent mode feels like wizardry right now. Okay, I need to go and try Copilot again. Obviously, it's this is always a problem because all of these softwares, all of these models, they increase in capability so often. But if you try it once and you're like, it's a bit rubbish, it it's hard to be incentivized to go and try again because everything is moving so quickly. It's kind of important to do so. But there are, as you say, there are like 10 different tools that we could be using. So trying to try them all every single month is basically impossible. But I will go and try Copilot again. And then another piece of news. So you've probably heard about this. Meta, so Facebook, Facebook and Instagram, Mark Zuckerberg, have been on a hiring spree, and they're basically trying to pull away as much AI talent as possible. And this includes the rumored $100 million bonuses, signing bonuses for bringing over the top talent. So they've been trying to gut OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, and now this seems kind of really mean. Meta have just poached the AI leader from Apple. So a guy called Ruming Peng, who oversees Apple Intelligence, has jumped ship to join Meta's new superintelligence lab. So he led a 100-strong army of engineers crafting the language models that make your iPhone summarize text, generate gen emojis, and prioritize your notifications. So he's been stolen. The head of AI, basically, or one of the leaders of AI at Apple Intelligence, has been nicked. Which kind of feels a bit mean because Apple is already falling so far behind in artificial intelligence. And yeah, I'd love to see Apple catch up. I'd love to see them deploy something that's useful. I'm very much an Apple person. I'm doing this right now. If you're on TikTok, you're watching me through an iPhone. I've got my Mac Mini here. I've got a MacBook Pro over there. Like I'm full maximalist Apple, but their AI for the last couple of years has been terrible. I mean, when was it? It was 2 days ago. I was trying to get Siri to set a timer. Siri still cannot set a proper timer for I was like, Siri, 10 minutes. And it started babbling on about a text message from somebody. It's like, this is a technology that they've had. I think Siri's about 13, 14 years old, and it is a form of artificial intelligence. It's just not generative AI. And it would have been such an easy win for them to upgrade Siri and to get an artificial intelligence, a proper AI assistant into everyone's hands, or everyone who owns an iPhone, but they've fumbled it. They've absolutely fumbled it. So it seems kind of mean for Meta to kick them while they're down by stealing away their talent. But I mean, I guess this is a big business now, and there's a lot of money being thrown around. So yeah, it does worry me as an Apple user. So those are the big topics today. I mean, the main one, as I mentioned, is Grok. If you have access to Grok, I would love to know how you find it. So if you go ahead and use it, drop a comment on one of my socials about how you're finding it below the recordings of these videos, because obviously we can all try it. We'll all have subjective opinions, but it's going to depend on what we use it for and what kind of questions we ask. So the more people we get feedback from, the better. For me, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. It didn't blow my mind, but well, yeah, not enough for me to jump ship and start to use it. But I'd love to hear what you guys think as well. Right, just scrolling down, and I am going to finish up for the day. Unless there's any other questions, you can drop them in. As mentioned previously, I do this every single day on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Hopefully I don't get banned from Twitter for being mean to Grok. I'm away next week in Paris, and I think the week after that in San Francisco, but I'm going to continue to do the lives as much as possible, depending on internet. It might just be very low resolution, or hopefully it's fantastic resolution and a beautiful view behind me, but we'll see. And these videos, once they're done in the morning, they get chopped up, they get cleaned up, they get rid of all my ums and ers and my blethering and my going off topic. All of that gets cleaned up, and we turn them into clips which go on YouTube and into kind of short videos as well. So if you are interested in a particular topic but you don't necessarily want to watch the whole live, absolutely fine. You can find the information on YouTube. There's also a newsletter which goes out every day, which is a summary of what's been discussed. And in that summary, we give the time codes which let you find the particular part of the video as well. So it's a much easier way to get to the information without having to watch the whole live. I will be back tomorrow morning with other news. I'm going to play around with Grok some more, so I'll report back on that. But otherwise, I will see you all soon.